Ladies and gentlemen, Piyush Sharma.
Is it okay? Hello, everyone. My name is Piyush Sharma, and I work at the technology division of Wells Fargo Bank. I'm very glad to be here and share our experience with Couchbase. Our journey began about 18 months ago. So let's start. The first one is about what Wells Fargo is and a little bit of some details about the bank. It's founded in 1852. It's a diversified, community-based financial service company with $1.9 trillion in assets. It's in banking, insurance, investment, mortgage, consumer, and commercial financial service. Has more than 8,500 locations and 13,000 ATMs. Our website is www.wellsfargo.com, or you can download the app on your mobile device. So our goal in this application was to adopt the cutting edge industry technology to protect the customers in the real time. So this slide is about our older version of the application, what type of the challenges we were encountering in that application, and how we overcome those challenges by implementation of the Couchbase, and where we are now versus where we were later. So that's what my presentation is about. So a little bit of overview about this application. We call this application Falcon because of the product which we are using, which is developed by FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation. So this FICO Falcon is the most robust multi-channel application which is available to manage the risk of debit and deposit activity. So what this application does it is all the debit transactions as well as the deposit transactions flows through this application for the detection of any fraudulent types of activities. So as an example, a customer is standing in front of the ATM machine, they swipe their card and authenticate themselves. Behind the scene, that transaction flows through this application and it gets scored by Falcon product, and it's get assigned a FICO score. Based upon that FICO score, there are two types of decisions happens. Either the transaction will be approved or it will be declined. While the customer is standing in front of the machine or it is using the debit card in the point of sale, this operation happens behind the scene. So as you can see, we have very small amount of time for this whole decision to be made. So the time of the origination of the transaction versus the decision to be made is about 600 milliseconds at the most max. So it's very important for the application to be very high performance, robust, and stable. The way it happens is within the Falcon product, there are advanced real-time rules engine which are running, and business can deploy these rules dynamically during the peak time, during the operations time, and they do that all the time. What these rules allows is it to match the or see what type of the fraudulent activity patterns are happening in the industry so that they are one step ahead of it, of the game, and they can protect the customer information. It's a very challenging task. Falcon has the models which are running in the application. So there are different models for the different products. So like debit model, deposit model type of the thing. And it's very high speed availability and effective, efficient change management processing system. In the older version of the Falcon, which is version 5, all the customer data, which is customer profiles, they were stored in the ISAM format. So ISAM files, I don't know how many of you have dealt with it, they are very known for the high performance, but they are stored locally in the file system of the server. Because of this limitation that they are on the file system, we were unable to scale the system because we were unable to share this file system across different scoring servers. And that was stopping us to expand this application for other line of business, as well as increase the volume of transactions to support the customer growth. And that was our biggest challenge which we were facing in this particular version. Because of this limitation, we were unable to either scale the system horizontally as well as vertically. The other challenge what we were facing was the replication. So there was no product replication which was there in the Falcon 5 product. So what we were doing was we were implementing the SAN-based replication, which is a great tool, but not at the product level. There was replication provided. So what FICO did was they restructured their Falcon product and they launched Falcon version 6. And they took the advantage of Couchbase to solve all these problems of performance, scalability, and replication. And it is so much better than the previous version that this new system which we put in place, it not only is used for the debit PIN, but it also used for the debit signature as well as for the deposit transactions. So at a high level, you can use your debit card by putting your PIN, which is a PIN-based transaction, or you can sign it, right, at a point of sale. That is a signature-based transaction. Signature-based transactions are higher in volume, about 1.5 times than the PIN, because more and more people are using the signature than the PIN. And then the deposit is when you are depositing the check in the bank. So all those types of the transactions are going through the system and getting the FICO scores and fraudulent activities detection thing. I'll go over more on the performance stats later down the line. The scalability part I want to touch upon now. What they in this new product did was they moved all the customer profile data into the Couchbase. So it was a Couchbase cluster, which we have about 7 nodes each in production as well as in the BCP, so total 14. And those 7 nodes cluster of Couchbase was set up, and there are multiple scoring servers which we have in our environment. And all those scoring servers are accessing the customer information by connecting to the Couchbase. We have a lot of data in the Oracle side of the fence too, which is mainly used for the reporting purposes. But the heart of the data, where the decisions and all is made, is stored in the Couchbase side, because that's where the high performance throughput is needed. So that's by implementation of the Couchbase, we were able to scale it horizontally, all these systems. Replication, because of XDCR, replication was set up between the production and the disaster recovery. Real-time replication works great, and that problem was solved. This is our architecture of the application. As you can see, it's a very complex application. The part which is related to Couchbase is highlighted in the middle and the bottom side. That's where the Couchbase data is stored. There are a lot of interfaces with so many other applications. Either they are feeding the transactions, or they are waiting for the response of this system to further send it out to the customer. And that's where all these interfaces are mentioned in this diagram. In this system, we are storing about 550 million documents in Couchbase. About 9,000 reads and writes operations are happening per second. So you can see it's a very busy system. We have 3 terabytes of RAM because our goal is to have maximum data in the cache of the system for the faster retrieval and the throughput. 3.5 terabytes on the disk, which is tier 1 SAN. As I mentioned earlier, it's a 14 node cluster, 7 each in production BCP or the DR system. By implementation of this new Falcon 6 application, what we have achieved benefits, main benefits were the new system is processing 100% transactions in real time. Our older system was just able to support 18% of the transactions in the real time. So there are 2 types of transactions which happens. One is the real-time processing, which is self-explanatory. Real time it's getting processed and the scores is reflecting and the decision is made based upon the FICO score. There are non-real time types of the transaction. Let's suppose there is an outage in the system or the system is busy. Customer cannot keep waiting for the decision to happen. So there is a separate, at a high level, rules engines running which can make quick decision about the application and reflect it back to the customer. And those transactions further processed as a non-real time into this system because we still want the customer profiles to be updated and so that the future decisions can be made accordingly. So that was one big benefit. The second is the new system process about 50 million transactions per day because one is we have 100% real time. Second, this is a common system built for debit PIN, debit signature, as well as deposit. Our older system was only handling debit PIN transactions only. And we wanted to expand it, but because of the limitation with the scalability, we couldn't achieve it. And there is a lot of synergy between all these line of businesses, which is leveraged by clubbing together all these operations. So there were different systems which were doing one for debit signature, another for the deposit, and they all get merged into this new system. The older system was handling about 4 million transactions. So that's the big jump in the transactions per day which are handled. And the main contributor factor is the Couchbase. Like I said, it's very important for all these transactions to be processed in a minimum amount of time so that the waiting period is as less as possible. So most of the transactions at the Couchbase level gets processed within less than 10 milliseconds, which is a huge benefit for making the overall, shortening the length of overall transaction time span. And so this is how we are able to achieve the 100% real-time transactions too. There are a lot of other operations happens outside the Couchbase before this transaction goes, because the transactions are running into the model and the rules and all that too. But the accessing of the profiles and all that is taking less than 10 milliseconds. That's the end of my presentation, and now I will open it for the questions. Yes?
I guess if there's one business sector that I think of that still needs SQL databases because of asset properties, it's banking and finance. And yet you built an amazing system with no SQL. Did you miss the features, the asset
So it's only the customer profile data is stored in the Couchbase NoSQL database. We have a lot of data within this application which is stored, transactional based data stored in the Oracle. So within this application we have 3 clusters of Oracle. One is for the Falcon, one is for the deposit operations, and third is for the reporting. And they are, and all the reporting type functions are still running against the Oracle database. So it's not 100% on the Couchbase, but the real-time flow of the transactions, which is impacting and on the decisions for processing and scoring the FICO transactions, they are getting processed and impacted through the Couchbase. Any other questions? Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.